Welcome to the Cricket Badger IPL Daily Podcast 2021. The Indian Premier League 14th edition. It's great to have you with us. From the first match all the way to the final. Chennai Super Kings, Delhi Capitals, Kolkata Knight Riders, Mumbai Indians, Punjab Kings, Rajasthan Royals, Royal Challengers Bangalore, Sunrisers Hyderabad. May the best team win. Brought to you in association with Who Knows Wins. Put your money where your mates are, and play along with the Cricket Badger.
Hello, everybody. Welcome along. It's another edition of the IPL Daily. I apologise for not being around yesterday. I had a horrible migraine, so I went to bed in a dark room. Neil Varane has just gone sideways, but he'll be back in a second, I'm sure. And we are talking about the double headers today. We've seen wins, or CSK losing to the Punjab Kings, Claire, Harry. That was an exciting game earlier on. And Rajasthan Royals, what on earth has happened to them? All out for 90 in their previous game. All out for, was it 85, 86 today? Absolutely shocking. Goodbye, Rajasthan Royals. Come back better after the mega auction. And the Kolkata Knight Riders will sleep fairly comfortably tonight, I think, with 9 toes and half a big toe in the playoffs, because it means that Mumbai Indians have to win by some extraordinarily big margin tomorrow to usurp Kolkata Knight Riders and get themselves into the final four. Claire, Harry and Neil, welcome along to the podcast. Neil, if Mumbai are going to beat anybody by an extraordinary margin, then Sunrisers are a good target, aren't they? I'll get that perfect introduction, and Neil freezes on me. Harry, we'll come to you instead. Yeah. We'll come back to Neil. Harry, CSK losing today to Punjab Kings. Claire did her wonderful motivational speech. Obviously, did the trick. Punjab winning by 6 wickets with 42 balls left. Are you at all worried, Harry, that 3 defeats on the bounce, CSK going into those playoffs with no momentum whatsoever?
Definitely, James. I am pretty much worried because, the bowling has failed. The bowlers have been leaking runs, and even more than the bowling, I'm worried about Moeen Ali, Robin Uthappan, Ride with the middle order. It's not like working out. So Moeen Ali at the beginning of the season, he was like a big hit. So, if you look in 2020, the main problem of CSK was not scoring in the middle. They were just crawling badly, and Moeen Ali seemed to be the solution this year, but I don't know what's happened to Moeen. Maybe he's missing his mate Sam Curran. He's sad.
Sad for Sam. MSD as well, Harry. Now, MSD is, I'm taking my life into my own hands by saying this because I'm going to get pelters, but MSD was extraordinarily wonderful for a long, long time. One of the very best in the world, white ball finisher extraordinaire. At the moment, he looks like I'm playing because he does. I think he had faced, was it about 15 ball state? I think he hit the one out the middle of the bat. He looked really scratchy.
Definitely, James. And leg spinners, he has always been to play suspect to leg spinners. So that's not a very surprising thing. But the thing is, if there is no batsman he trusts, he can, come behind. But he has batting till Deepak Chahar. So he can, comfortably push all the people ahead of him and just stay in the dugout. So it would have been a better thing if Bravo had come out and faced those 15 balls and got something. But still Punjab finished off it in a fairly easy manner. I don't know, even more than Dhoni, and I know Dhoni is a concern, but still I'll be happy if the 3, 4, 5 works out and Dhoni pushes himself to maybe 7 or 8. Even Shardul would be I also know that I've been a MSD fan my whole life, so but I'll say it, even Shardul seems like a better option right now.
Is it time for MSD to go, Harry? We don't want to see MSD kind of walking out for the next 20 years looking like he shouldn't be there, do we? We want to remember him as the star he is.
Definitely, James. I think there is a saying, I can't paraphrase it correctly, but they say something like, you go out at the right time or you find yourself to be a villain, something of that sort. That gets said a lot in social media right now.
Claire, your motivational chat the other day, which we put out on Twitter yesterday, seemed to do the trick for your Punjab Kings boys. I'll come to Neil in a second to kind of rub it in about KL Rahul's excellence today, but he was extraordinary. From the minute he came in, he was pinging the ball off the middle of the bat. I think it was 8 sixes from him. It was just ridiculous. Man of the match by a country mile. 98 off 42 balls, 2 catches. He was fantastic.
Well, sadly, I haven't seen any of that. I've just had your wonderful updates on the Cricket Badger podcast group and also through Twitter and various sources. But yeah, wow, what an innings. And for a guy who's come into so much criticism for, sort of not taking the game away, not, playing, is he playing as a captain? Is he playing for himself or the team, or what role is he playing? I mean, he came out and dominated, didn't he? So yeah, well done to him. Sadly, just a little bit too late, but too little too late. But, I guess finishing on a high note is all that we could hope for today. And they certainly looked like they did that. So yeah, well played, Punjab.
As I'm going to put to Neil in just a second, KL for me has protected the batsmen that have come behind him. I don't think he's had too much confidence in those coming in beneath him, and therefore has maybe played within himself to make sure he stays there as long as possible. Today, there was only one thing on his mind: to finish that match off as quickly as possible. Therefore, he had clarity of thought. Therefore, he produced what he did. It's just a shame we haven't seen that more often, isn't it?
Yeah, or he hasn't had the sort of confidence to just think, oh, sorry, Neil, is that you? Go on.
No, it was for you, Claire.
No. You go ahead. Go ahead.
No, yeah, it's just, like we just said, it is a shame that he's not been able to play with that kind of freedom throughout, and he's been sort of more, has he played more of a captain's role and just thinking, yeah, like you say, he's got to protect the rest of that order. But even today, when I looked down the batting order, a little bit bizarre that like Markram came in at 5, did he? And
yeah,
Sarfraz Khan and Shahrukh came in the straight after the openers. So a really big shuffle there, and obviously the batsman that came in below him didn't manage to score any runs. So again, that kind of that opening partnership crucial. I know Mayank didn't get many runs today, but I think that's been the thing with Punjab this season, is that they've just not had a settled 2, 3, 4, 5. There's been it's just chopped and changed. Every innings it's been a different sort of person coming in next, and yeah, where do you go with that? So food for thought, but it's going to be all change anyway, isn't it? So, but well played.
It's going to be mega change in the mega auction, isn't it, as we go further forward? So far, I've asked Neil one fantastic question and he froze. I've asked you a question, Claire, and he came in. Now I'll ask one to Neil properly. KL Rahul, 13 innings, Neil, 626 runs. He's got 2 scores in the 90s. His average is 62.6. And his strike rate is nearly 140. What's wrong with that?
That in itself sounds absolutely excellent. The problem generally with KL has been that he's played within himself. Maybe because he didn't trust the middle order below him. And we have seen that that they haven't done as well. But it's also a self-fulfilling prophecy. Because if you starve the middle order so that they only face balls right at the end of an innings where they're expected to go from ball 1, then they're set up to fail if they're not those type of players, who are very few and far between. I think, apart from this year, he's played within himself for a couple of years. Pretty much when him and Mayank started opening, because 2018 KL Rahul, when he opened with Chris Gayle, was possibly one of the best T20 players I've ever seen in my life. But by playing within himself, often he has done his team a disservice because he's ended up taking too many balls. And a large part of that strike rate is that if he does stay in for a long time, then his strike rate will go mental right at the end. But often at that point, it's too late and he hasn't taken advantage of the pitch. He's a guy with the potential to be the best player in the world. I just
playing like he did today.
Today was amazing.
incredible innings, wasn't it? Absolutely fantastic. Let's move on from Kings Punjab, though. Punjab Kings, because they've gone, aren't they, Claire? I'm sorry. And they are currently in 5th. They have no way of getting any higher. So we're going to say goodbye to the Punjab Kings. We also say goodbye to the Rajasthan Royals, who have basically just gone out with a very much of a whimper. And Sunrisers Hyderabad, we will say goodbye to tomorrow when they play the Mumbai Indians, who we may say goodbye to as well. Probably will say goodbye to as well, because Mumbai Indians have to do something rather extraordinary. But going back up towards the top end, tomorrow's we also see Delhi Capitals taking on the Royal Challengers Bangalore, which is a mouth-watering clash. It might end up being the final. It might end up being one of the playoff matches. Probably will be one of the playoff matches. But Delhi are already guaranteed their place in the top 2. RCB themselves have to overhaul, Harry, a big differential in terms of net run rate there. I don't even think it's possible for them to overhaul that. If Mumbai Indians have to do what they have to do to overhaul their differential, then I think RCB are out of range, aren't they?
I think it's something like they have to chase the target in 3 or 4 overs. I'm not sure. So I know, like CSK and DC play the first qualifier.
Yeah. So it looks like it's going to be DC against CSK.
Could have easily won the last match. So they themselves, RCB are themselves to be blamed. I think they bottled up a few easy matches.
Yeah. I mean, I've said this to Harry already, Claire, but MSD and CSK are just kind of running out of steam a little bit going into the playoffs, aren't they? 3 defeats on the bounce. DC are looking just as good as they have done all the way through the competition, whereas CSK just tapering off a little bit.
Yeah, it seemed like they, if there's a thing as peaking too early, I think that's what they did. I mean, at one point they seemed pretty unstoppable. But today, just looking down, the bowling performance kind of was like really a bit dire. So they've really, tapered off, and it's going to be a big ask to pull themselves back from a losing streak. So that looks a bit of an uphill task for the Yellows.
And they'll go into the playoffs. If we assume that it is going to be KKR, it's KKR and DC that are going into the final 4 with the momentum, isn't it? Because RCB have been a little bit rocky of late.
Delhi and KKR have got the obvious momentum behind them. But I still get the feeling that the form that Glenn Maxwell is in and Harshal Patel, the two of them are so irresistible at the moment that it may come down to a moment of genius from either of them, which could turn something, even though DC and KKR as a whole have been better.
When we look at the final 4, if we assume it's KKR, Harry, how confident are you as a CSK man that you can turn it around?
I don't want to say anything right now, James. I think it really depends on.
Oh, you're a rubbish podcast guest, then, aren't you?
No, I don't want to, really. I want CSK to come to the finals at least, but I mean, I don't know, James. I know I already told that a couple of serious flaws have been exposed. The middle order batting and the bowlers just seem to be leaking runs. So I don't know, James. So I can't say which CSK have a real shot at winning this.
I'll give you a slightly different question with a more positive slant to it. How much would it mean to you as an MSD fan, as a CSK fan, to see MSD lift that trophy? I mean, if you're going to go, we talked about him maybe having to retire at some stage in the near future. If you're going to retire with a trophy in your hands, the way to go, isn't it?
Definitely, James. The past couple of years he has been, much criticism. So it would be real for him to, he would be in a really good mental space if he goes out with that. So I mean, he has been facing so much criticism, and rightly so. But it would be really honorable to do that, and it's better that he goes off on a high. We have seen so many critics go dark, and go into the dark space. It's a really sad thing.
Mumbai Indians, Claire, they need to beat Sunrisers tomorrow by 170 runs, I think it is. So if they bat first, they need to rack up sort of 250, 260, bowl Sunrisers out for 80, 90, somewhere in that region, which is possible, but probably improbable. If it goes the other way and Sunrisers bat first, if Kane Williamson wins the toss, as Nakul Pandey on our WhatsApp group pointed out, how nasty will Kane Williamson be? Is if he wins the toss and decides to bat first and Sunrisers, then Mumbai Indians can't win. Then that basically takes any sense of jeopardy and any sense of drama out of that match. It would be breaking records for Mumbai to qualify, but they've done it before. Could they?
Well, as you all know, I don't like to put too much weight on my predictions because they tend to swing people's luck in the other way. I think Kane, for all he is an absolute sweetheart, he's not going to want to go down losing. So he's going to do what he can to, restore a little bit of pride. I guess a lot rests on the toss. And after that, it's cricket. Anything is possible. Nothing's impossible. So let's just leave it in the hands of fate and not let me curse anybody.
Neil, Sunrisers, how embarrassing would it be for you to go out of the competition after a really poor season, to be mullered by Mumbai Indians, to see them qualify on the same day?
I know we never say never because of Rajasthan's victory against Punjab and Corey Anderson's miracles and sight of Rahul Dravid losing his temper and stuff. But Mumbai are done. If it's a pitch where they can score 250, and Jason Roy has to face 4 overs of pace on an absolute road during the power play, then there's no way that even Sunrisers are getting to 80. I can envisage a world where it's a horror pitch, and we get rolled over for 50 or 60, but not when Mumbai are making 250. So all Kane's going to do tomorrow is make a choice based on what gives us the best chance to finish off the season with a win. I expect as many of the young players as Trevor reckons he can get into the team without leaving us seriously weakened to be playing. So Warner's going to be back at the hotel because there's a limit on how many people we can take in the stadium. I expect a very similar team to the last game. And it's a case of playing for pride.
We had a little bit of a chat on WhatsApp this afternoon as the games came to an end about net run rate, about that as the decider basically in these kind of situations. A lot of talk. I mean, Ian Bishop on the TV coverage as you were joining me was talking about if it's important in the 14th game, it should be important in the first game, and teams should preserve their net run rate all the way through. The only thing I'd say with that is that teams don't lose on purpose. I guess what you could say is that rather than just kind of give up the ghost and get bowled out, try and just make it last a little bit longer to try and get your net run rate and keep it healthy. But I don't like net run rate, Neil. I think net run rate penalises a team that's had one bad performance in 14. If you've been bowled out for 72, and we've seen RCB, their net run rate is almost isn't as good as some of the others purely because of one very poor performance against KKR. I think there's got to be another way, hasn't there?
To be honest, I think it's the least of all evils. People have tried head to head, but in a small competition, then that tends to equal out. So you end up going to net run rate anyway. I heard someone suggest a number of wickets lost, but I see wickets as a resource that you can use up as many or as few, as is within your control. It does make a difference if you win 1 down or 9 down. So I don't see that. I suppose just for the lols, we could go to boundary count. Or my suggestion was you get the coaches dressed up as mascots and have a mascot race. I
quite liked your suggestion on the WhatsApp group about having the coaches doing a kind of like a single wicket competition or something like that. You could have Trevor Bayliss and Tom Moody.
That. No, we'd have Haddon out there, wouldn't we? Not Bayliss.
Yeah.
We've got Jayawardene and McCullum and Flower and Cumbley and
Jonty Rhodes at point again.
And we got Trev. That wouldn't do us quite as well. Yeah, I mean, some of the coaches are good enough to still be playing, aren't they?
Yeah. What about you, Harry? How do you see the net run rate thing? Do you like it? Do you think it's because the one thing that gets me with it is that if you are bowled out in say 8 overs, I know you shouldn't be, and that would be the kind of the comeback. But if you bowl out in 8 overs, your runs that you've scored are divided by 20, not 8, in terms of the calculation, and that means that you end up with a horrendous swing sometimes in terms of that, because all of the innings are divided by 20, not by the actual number of overs you use up. Now you can say, well, don't get bowled out for 72 in 8 overs, or make sure that you last to the 18th over and try and string out as many runs as possible. But I do think it leads it to us to having, one really bad performance can really hamstring a team for the rest of the competition. Maybe we could do it like in diving, where you take out the best and the worst score and just kind of like amalgamate the rest of them.
Yeah, seems like a better idea, James, but I don't think cricket is not ready to do that. So, I mean, one thing is, the first thing is people who run cricket have to understand that. I don't think that is really the case. And second thing, I know this is a cliche answer, but just win your matches and don't depend on anyone else or run rate. That's all I can say.
I mean, that's the bottom line, isn't it? Win as many matches as you can, and you don't have to worry about your net run rate, Claire.
Well, yeah. Obviously, if there was a clear difference and there weren't like a load of teams in the middle all at the same points, then it would be about that. But that often doesn't happen, especially.
Well, it very rarely happens in the IPL.
In the IPL,
the IPL always ends up squashed in the middle.
Yeah, and that's why I like my idea about number of wickets taken, because although I appreciate wickets might be a commodity, but we've talked a lot about the pitches and how they're a bit more favouring the bowlers. It's always about runs and how many runs you can get. So why not contemplate bringing the bowlers into that equation a little bit more? And,
I can see what Neil's saying, Claire, about if you're chasing 170, you might as well get there for 170 for 9 is 170 for 1. But if you lose 9, you've lost 9, haven't you? And the other team has lost but taken 9 wickets.
Yeah. So that was just my thought, because runs win matches always, but why not bring the wickets into it, just to make it a bit more interesting?
Well, there is a vacancy now, Claire, at the top of the ECB food chain. So with an idea like that, I think you're in the mix.
Well, I'm up for offers. Long.
I mean, to be fair, I've never met Mr. Watmore, but I've not really seen him do anything for the last year, and he's been paid 150 grand for doing it. So I could quite happily do that for a year. Neil, in terms of tomorrow's matches, Sunrisers going home, how much of a disappointing season has this been? Because they've never been in it, have they?
No, we haven't. I think in the first half, in the first few games, there were a few games that excuse me, that we let slip that we should have won. So we actually looked better than we were for a while. And actually, that's been how we've been for 2 or 3 seasons. I think the likes of Rashid Khan, Kane Williamson, Booby, and Bairstow over the last few seasons have papered over the cracks. We've been a much worse team than structurally than our results have really reflected, and it's.
Are those the three that you're going to keep? If it is three, they're the three you retain.
How many did I say? I said 4 there, but of those 3 were foreign. So the rumblings I'm hearing are 2 Indians that you keep, and a maximum of 2 overseas. But,
So who would you keep on that basis then?
Bairstow and Rashid Khan, Booby, and probably Abdul Samad, because I see great potential there with him. I think he's a very exciting young player. Or the new Tyro Malik would be a left field choice for right match.
Harry, CSK for if we go scroll forward to the mega auction, you're allowed to keep 2 Indians and two foreign players. Who are you keeping?
Jadeja and Rutraj Gaikwad are the Indians, and I think probably I'm not about the overseas picks. I think Moeen Ali will be one of them. I'm not sure about the second one.
Who was your first Indian?
Jadeja.
Okay, yeah. That would make sense. Claire's got very jingly earrings, hasn't she? For Punjab Kings, Claire, if you were going to keep 2 Indians, I would guess it'd be Mayank and KL, would it, just to annoy Neil for another year?
Well, I think they have been the starting performers. Although, not to forget the bowlers. What about Bishnoi and Shami have got to be in there, and Ashdeep?
Arshdeep's been great. I really like Arshdeep.
Fantastic. And I mean, Shami's reliable, but I don't know if he's getting towards the latter end of his career. But Ravi Bishnoi has been fantastic as well. So that in itself, really,
he's going to be a star.
Huh?
Yeah, I like him. I like Ravi Bishnoi a lot. Let's finish off then. Who wins IPL 2021? We know the final 4. I think we pretty much know the setup. It's going to be DC taking on CSK. In third and against fourth, it's going to be KKR taking on RCB. But who wins IPL 2021? Neil.
I've just got a sneaky feeling here. RCB. I haven't seen Glenn Maxwell play as well since the 2014 when he was out in the Middle East, and Harshal Patel has been superb. I just have a feeling that they'll drag themselves through, and there are weaknesses in the other 3 teams.
There's fairy tales with both CSK and RCB winning it in terms of their captains lifting the trophy. Harry, I guess you're sticking with CSK here?
I'm back in CSK.
Harry's back in CSK. And Claire, not going to be the Punjab Kings this time. Who are you going to pick? You went for Delhi yesterday. Was it yesterday or the day before? You went for Delhi, didn't you?
Well, yeah, but I'm going for Delhi because of my reverse psychology thing. I mean, I would love to see RCB win it, just so that Virat gets his trophy before he leaves his captaincy.
I must admit, if Mumbai go by the wayside, which is my team, I will be supporting RCB for exactly that reason. I'd love to see Virat Kohli lifting an IPL, having that on his CV before he goes back into the ranks. I tell you what, it's going to be interesting next season because he's apparently staying with RCB. It's going to be interesting to see the dynamic. Whoever takes that captaincy role on, how much in the background Virat's going to be, or whether he's going to be as quiet as up and at him and everything, and as involved as he always is.
Well, he's not that much in the background if he's retained himself and taken that out of the management stands.
Well, if you're Virat Kohli and you have that mouthpiece, why not? Why not? We're going to be back tomorrow, everybody. We'll be back tomorrow because we've got 2 more games to talk about. It's going to be very, very exciting. We'll find out who is in that top 2. We'll find out if Mumbai Indians can pull off something extraordinary and make Neil's IPL 2020 even worse as we go towards the end of it. I think KKR are safe myself. Harry, a very scratchy Claire, who I'm going to mute now, and Neil. Thank you very much indeed for joining me tonight. Thanks everybody for watching and listening, and join us again tomorrow on the Cricket Badger podcast.